Hello students, welcome to my channel. In this video we're going to solve the 2019 essay part of the mathematics question. We're going to solve all the 13 questions including the graphs. So as we are aware that the exam is usually into two sections, where the first section you are to answer all the 5 questions, while the second section you are to select any 5 to making the total of 10 questions. So in this video we're going to solve the entire question. This video is really to help you to understand about some topics you may have in difficulty and also to prepare you ahead of your exam. Remember, if you have any question you can drop it in the comment box down below. So this let's jump into it. Alright, the first question we have here is question 1a, and it says that given that 110 base x is equals to 40 base 5, we have to find the value of x. So we have 110 base x is equals to 40 base 5, right? So the first thing to do is to assign powers, as in from 0 to these numbers. So we're going to have, starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, same thing here, 0, 1. There are two different numbers, right? That's what we have to assign the power and separately. So now the next thing to do is to multiply the number times the base and raise it to this power. So we're going to have 1 times x to the power of 2, right? Then we have the next one is this one. So we say plus 1 times x to the power of 1, right? Then we have plus 0 times x to the power of 0. So that's for the first number, right? So the next one, we have equality sign between them. So we put equal to. Now this one will be 4 times 5, because 5 is not the base. So we say 4 times 5 to the power of this one. So we have 4 times 5 to the power of 1. Then this 0, we have plus 0 times 5 to the power of 0, right? So next thing is to multiply. 1 times x squared is x squared, right? So we have x squared plus 1 times x raised to power 1, and you know that x raised to power 1 is the same thing as x. So it's going to be x plus 0 times x raised to power 0 is same thing as 1. Is that not? Anything raised to power 0 is always equals to 1 based on the law of indices. So equals to, we have 4 times 5 raised to power 1 is same thing as 5. Then plus, we have 0 times 5 raised to power 0 will always be 1 too, because anything raised to power 0 is 1. So let's simplify. We have x squared plus x plus 0 times 1 is 0 is equals to 4 times 5 is 20 plus 0 times 1 is 0. So now we are going to have x squared plus x equals to 20. We literally remove all the zeros. We don't need them, right? So now this is a quadratic equation, but we have to rearrange it. Rearranging it, we have to move this 20 to the other side, and if we move 20 to the other side, we know that the sign will change, and any number that is having an empty sign is having an invisible positive signs, right? So once it crosses the equality sign, it will change to minus. So we're going to have what? X squared plus x minus what? 20 now equals to 0. So this is a quadratic equation. Why? Because it's in the form of what? Ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So this is the quadratic equation form, and this number is exactly in that form. So now we're going to solve the quadratic equation. Yeah, of course we are aware that there are basically different methods of solving quadratic equation. We have the factorization method, we have the completing the square, we have the graphical method, and we also have the formula method. Whichever one you want to use here, which is fine, so far you are going to arrive at the answer, since the question did not specify which method we are to use particularly. So now, in solving this using factorization method, I'm going to use factorization method. We are going to look for two numbers that when we multiply them, we're going to have minus 20, right? And if we add those numbers, we're going to have 1 because this is 1x. The coefficient of x here is 1. So if you add those two numbers, you should be able to give us 1. So what are those numbers? So think of the two numbers. Of course, we have 4 and 5 because 4 times 5 will give us what will be equals to 20. But remember, we have minus 20. So how can we make this 20 to be minus? So if we put minus sign here, so it will be minus times plus, right? So it's going to be minus, of course. Is that not? So 4 times 5 is minus 20. So it will be now minus 20. But minus 4 plus 5, will it give us 1? Of course, yes. So we are going to use minus 4 and plus 5. So using that, we're going to set x squared. Instead of writing this 1x, we're going to substitute with these factors that we've gotten here. So we have minus 4x and we have plus what? 5x. Then we'll now bring our minus 20. So minus 20. Can you see? So we have literally substituted this x. Instead of this x, we've written these ones, because if you multiply them, they're going to still give you x, because minus 4x plus 5x is going to give us x. So now we are going to factorize them. We're going to factor what they have in common. So open two brackets. If open two brackets, check this number. The equation now is separated into half. Can you see it? Half here. So since it's separated into half, the first part, this first part, now look for what they have in common. What they have in common, they have x in common, right? So bring out the x. So what are we going to multiply by this x outside that will give us x squared? Of course, is x. Is that not? So we use x here. So what are we going to multiply by the x outside here that will give us 4x? Of course, is 4. So bring our minus sign. We have 4, right? So we have x times x times x will give us x squared, and x times 4 will give us minus 4x. Is that not? So the next part is these two. What they have in common? Of course, they have 5 in common. So we have, let's write our 5 out here. What I'm going to multiply by 5 that will give us 5x is x. Is that not? So what are we going to multiply by this 5 that will give us 20? So the best thing to do is just carry the 20. Say 20 divided by 5 will give us 4. Always use that. So if you have 4 now, we're going to say minus what? 4, right? Can you see? So 5 times x is 5x. And 5 times 4 is 20. So the next thing is to check if the brackets are the same. Of course, the brackets are the same. We have minus 4 and minus 1. So whenever you solve it and the brackets are not the same, then you should know that you are wrong. Okay, so now we have this one. We equate it to, always equate them to 0. We have 0. What I'm going to do, we are going to pick this one and this together, right? So we're going to have x plus 5. Then we pick any of these ones because they are the same. Pick any of them. We have x minus 4. Equate it to 0. So if we equate it to 0 now, we're going to have x plus 5 is equals to 0, or x minus 4 is equals to 0. So now moving this one to the other side is going to be plus 5 minus 5, and moving this minus 4 to the other side is going to be what? Plus 4. So we're going to have x equals to 0 minus 5, then or x is equals to 0 plus 4. Am I right? So we're going to have x is equals to 0 minus 5 is minus 5, or x is equals to 0 plus 4 is 4. So therefore x is equals to minus 5 or 4. So these are the values of x. So remember, you can use any method. I decided to use factorization method in this question. You can use whatever method that suits you. So let's move to the next question. All right, question 1b says simplify 15 over root 75 plus root 108 plus root 432, leaving the answer in the form of a root b. where a and b are positive integers, right? So now we have 15 over root 75 plus root 108 plus root 432. So the first thing to do is balance these ones with 1. And what I'm going to do to find the LCM. LCM of the denominators, that's the root 75, 1 and 1 is, the LCM is root 75, right? So we're going to say root 75 divided by root 75 is 1, right? So 1 times 15 is going to give us 15. Write it here. Then our plus root 75 divided by 1 is root 75. And root 75 times root 108, we're going to have what? Let's use a calculator. 108 times 75. We have root 8100. We have root 8100 plus root 75 divided by 1 is root 75, right? Then times 432. 432 times 75. We're going to have 32,400. So we're going to have root 32,400, right? So now with this, we can say that 15 now plus what is the square root of 8100, because it's a perfect square. The square root of 8100 is 90. Good. So we have 90 plus the square root of 32,400. Square root of 32,400 is equals to 180. 180. Remember, over we have our LCM here as our denominator, 75. So we're going to add 15 plus 90 plus 180. 15 plus 90 plus 180. We have 285. So we're going to have 285 over root 75. So now simplifying root, remember that in mathematics, whenever we have AB, the root of AB is same thing as saying A times B, which is same thing as saying root A times root B, right? So we're going to use that. This one is going to give us 285 over. Look for two numbers that when we multiply them, we're going to have 75. And remember that one of the numbers should be a perfect square. So what is that number? Of course, we have 25 and 3, because 25 times 3 is 75. So let's check it whether it's correct. 25 times 3 is 75. So how did I get that? What you need to do always is to carry the number that you want to find, those two numbers, keep on dividing them by the perfect square. So we know the first perfect square is 4. Divide 75 by 4. If you can get a perfect number without remainder, fine, you use it. But if not, keep on using it, keep on trying it. We have 4. If 4 did not go, use 9. If 9 did not go, use 16, and so on and so forth. So for this one now, we have seen that is 25 times 3. So it's going to be the root of 25 times 3. So this one is going to give us 285 over root 25 times root 3. This one, of course, is going to give us 285 over, what is the square root of 25? The square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 25 is equal to 5. So we're going to use 5 root 3, right? So now what can go? 5 can go into this number and 5 here can go. So that means we can cancel it. So 285 divided by 5. 285 divided by 5 is 57. So 5 here is 1, 5 here is 57. So we're going to have numbers left now will be 57 over root 3. So, but our question says we should leave it in the form of a root b. So we are not going to leave it like this. So that means we have to do what we call rationalization. So how can we rationalize sort? In rationalizing sort, we are going to carry the denominator that is in the sort form and multiply it by both the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to carry this root 3. We'll multiply the top times root 3 and the bottom time is root 3. So 57 times root 3, of course, we're going to have what? We're going to have 57 root 3 over root 3 times root 3 is going to give us root 9, right? Is that not? So we're going to have, in this case, we're going to have 57 root 3 over, what is the square root of 9 is 3. So can 3 go into 57? Let's check it. 57 divided by 3, of course, is 19. So 3 here is 1, 3 here is 19. So our answer now is going to be 19 root 3. So this one is actually in the form that we were asked. So the answer is 19 root 3. So all right, question 2a says find the equation of the line which passes through the point A. We have minus 2 and 7. Then B, we have 2 and minus 3. So remember that the point is A. We have minus 2 and we have 7. Then B, we have 2 and minus 3. So remember that a linear equation is always in the form of y is equals to mx plus c, where m is usually the gradient and c is usually the constant, right? So now in this case, we should note that this first one, this minus 2, is usually the x1, right? And this is the y1. Whenever you plot a graph of linear uh, equation, you find that we have the coordinates, right? So these coordinates, we have the first one is usually x1 and the second one is usually y1. Then in b, we have this one will be x2 and this one will be y2. So we have a formula that we usually use in substituting it, and the formula is given using the formula y minus y1 over y2 minus y1 is equals to x minus x1 over x2 minus x1. So now let's substitute in this equation. Since we already have our x1, y1, x2 and y2. So let's give it a try. Now if you substitute it, now substituting, so we're going to have y minus y1. What is our y1? Our y1 is 7. So say 7 over, what is our y2? Our y2 is minus 3, right? So we have minus 3, and we have minus into minus 1 and minus y1, and our y1 is 7. We have 7 is equals to x minus, what is our x1? Our x1 is minus 2. Minus 2 over y x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is minus 2, right? So this case, we're going to have y minus 7 over minus 3 minus 7 is what? We say minus 3 minus 7 is minus 10, right? So minus 3 minus 7 is minus 10. Minus 3 minus 7 is minus 10 is equals to, we have x, then we have negative times negative is positive, plus 2 over, we have 2, negative times negative is positive, we have plus 2. right? So this one is going to be y minus 7 over minus 10 is equals to x plus 2 over 2 plus 2 is 4. So what we're going to do next, whenever you have equality sign between fractions, you cross multiply. So cross multiply, you have this one multiplied by this and this one multiplied by this. Of course, we're going to have 4 multiplied by y minus 7 is equals to minus 10 multiplied by x plus 2. Can you see? So let's open up the bracket because 4 multiplied by y and 4 multiplied by 7, right? So we're going to say 4 times y is 4y. Then 4 times minus 7 is minus 28, right? Is equals to minus 10 times x is minus 10x. Then minus times plus is minus 10 times 2 is 20, right? So in this case, we're going to have this. We'll collect like terms. 4y is equals to minus 10x, right? Then we have minus 20. Then this minus 8 will 28 will move to the next to the other side, and it's going to be what? Plus 28. So plus 28. So this one is going to be 4y equals to minus 10x, then minus 20 plus 28. Minus 20 plus 28 is 8, right? So we have 8 plus 8. So at this point, what are we going to do? We're going to move everything. Remember that we said that the equation is usually in the form of y equals to mx plus c. So this equation now, what we're going to do, want to equate everything to 0 by moving everything to move to the right. All right. So in this case, we're going to have 4y. Now this minus 10 will move to the other side. It's going to be what? Plus 10, right? So we have plus 10x. Then we have minus 8 equals to 0 because this 8 will also move to the other side. So now, what is that number that we can divide them so that we, they can go all through, right? Of course, we know 2 can go here, 2 here, and 2 here. So if you divide it, these 2 can cancel this one 2 times. 2 here can cancel this 10 5 times, and 2 can cancel this 8 4 times. So we'll be left with what? 2y plus 5x minus 4 is equals to 0. So this is the equation. This is the linear equation. All right. Question 2b says that given that 5b minus a over 8b plus 3a is equals to 1 over 5, right? Find, correct to 2 decimal places, the value of a over b. So how we're going to approach this? The first thing to do is actually to cross multiply because there's a presence of equality sign between the fractions. Cross multiplying, we're going to have 1 multiplied by 8b plus 3a. Then this 5b minus a multiplying 5. So we're going to have 5 times what? This, right? So it's going to be 5 into 5b minus a, right? Then this multiplied by 1 is same thing as that. So because anything multiplied by 1 is same thing as that number. So we're going to have 8b plus 3a, right? So we're going to open this bracket by multiplying 5 by 5b and 5 by minus a. So 5 times 5b is 25b. Then minus 5 times a is 5a is equals to 8b plus 3a, right? So collect like terms. Those with a will move to one side while those with b will move to the other side. So doing that, let's move all a's to the right hand side while all b's to the left hand side. So we're going to have 25b. Now instead of minus 5a, it's going to move to the other side because it's a. So 5a is moving, and remember it's having minus sign. It's going to change to plus 5a once it crosses the equality sign. Then 8b will come to the other side because it's b, will come and meet its brother 25b. And once it crosses, remember that any number that is having invisible sign it's having invisible sign is actually positive. So there is a positive sign here, invisible. So this one is going to be minus. So 8, once it crosses the equal sign, the positive sign will change to negative. Minus 8b is equals to, then 3a. Remember that this 5 will cross, is going to be plus 5a, right? So 25 minus 8. 25 minus 8 is 17b. So we're going to have, it's just like saying 25 cows minus 8 cows, right? It's going to be 17 cows, right? So 25b minus 8b is going to be 17b is equals to 3a plus 5a is going to be 8a. Are we there? So now remember that the question says we should find the value of a over b. So now going back to our solution now, we are going to find the coefficient of a, that is the multiplier of a. And what's the coefficient of a is actually 8. So that will be our a. So it's going to be 8 all over. So what's the coefficient of b? That is the number multiplying by b, which is what? 17. So b is 17. 8 divided by 17. 8 divided by 17. 0.4705. Remember that our answer should be in two decimal places. A over b is equals to 0.4705. 0.4705, right? So now in two decimal places, so in two decimal places, we're going to count, move this point in two places. We have 1, 2, right? So we're going to stop here. In two decimal places, a over b will be equals to 0.47. So this is the value of a over b in two decimal places. All right, question 3a says Ali, Musa, and Yusuf shared 42,000 in the ratio of 3 to ratio 5 to ratio 8, respectively. Find the sum of Ali and Yusuf share, right? So remember that we have Ali, then to ratio Musa in this manner, to ratio Yusuf, right? And the question says that they shared this money in the ratio of 3 to ratio 5 to ratio 8. And remember that the total cash, the total amount is 1,000. So the first thing to do is to add the ratio together. So we're going to have 3 plus 5 plus 8 is equals to what? Equals to 16, right? So now remember that it is arranged respectively. That means this is for Ali, this 5 for Musa, and this 8 for Yusuf. That's the ratio. Following that manner, we are going to calculate the share of each person. Remember that we are given the total amount and the ratio, or we are not given the amount each of them will have. So in order for us to get the amount Ali and Yusuf will have, so that we can sum it, we have to calculate it. So we're going to start with Ali's share. So for Ali now, remember that Ali's ratio is 3, right? So we're going to say 3 divided by the total ratio, which is 16, times the total amount, which is what? 420,000. 420,000. You can balance this one with 1. 420,000 divided by 16. 420,000 divided by 16. 26,250. So we're going to say 16 here is 26,250, and 6 here is 1. So we're left with what? 3 and 26,250, right? So we're going to say 3 times 26,250. If we multiply this, 3 times 26,250, we already have this here times 3, right? 78,750. 78,750. This is Ali's share, right? But the question says that we should find the sum of Ali and Yusuf share. So Now for USIF now, we're going to set for USIF. So for us to get out of USIF, what is the ratio of USIF? The ratio of USIF is 8 because it's respectively. So we say 8 divided by the total ratio, which is 16, times the total amount, which is 420,000. So you can balance this one with 1. As we know that 16 here is 1. 16 into 420,000 is 26,250. So it's going to be 8 times 26,250. So we say 8 times 26,250. So we're going to have what? So let's multiply it. 8 times 26,250 is equals to 210,000. 210,000. So this is Ali's share. So, but the question says that we should find the sum of Ali and Yusuf's share. So we're going to add this amount plus this amount, right? The sum of Ali and Yusuf will be equals to 78,750 plus 210,000. So if you add this, let's use our calculator. We already have 210,000 here, then plus 78,750. So the total is 288,750. 288,750. So this is the summation of Ali and Yusuf's share, right? Question. Question 3b says that solve 2 into 1 over 8 to the power of x is equal to 32 to the power of x minus 1. So now, using the knowledge of law of indices, we know that any number that is on its own is having an invisible power of 1, right? That's one thing we should know. And secondly, whenever we have anything to the power of a negative number, is always 1 all over the number to that power. Can you see? So this minus will be 1 over, then this power will attach itself, right? So we're going to use that one to our advantage also. And we also know that when we have x raised by a to the power of b is same thing as x to the power of a b, where a will multiply by b. So now with this, let's use that one. Let's see how we're going to solve this. We are going to set 2 to the power of 1 times, open bracket, when you have 1 over 8, do you know that it's the same thing as 8 to the power of minus 1, right? Because we said that when you have x raised by minus a is same thing as what? 1 all over x to the power of a. So vice versa. If this one can be in this one, it can also be in this form, right? So if that's the case, this is same thing as 8 to the power of minus 1 raised to the power x is equals to 32 raised to the power x minus 1, right? So this is same as 2 raised to the power 1 times 8 to the power of minus 1 times x, right? Because x raised to the power a close bracket b is same as x raised to the power ab. So a will multiply by b. So minus 1 times x is going to be minus x is equals to 32 to the power of x minus 1. So we're going to look for the lowest base that all these can express it in power. So now we start with 8 because the lowest number we know is 2. 2 to the power of 3 is 8, and 2 to the power of 5 is 32. So now in this one is going to be 2 to the power of 1 times 2 to the power of 3, right? Remember we have our minus x, or minus x is equals to 2 to the power of 5, and we have x minus 1. Okay, so now let's use the knowledge of x raised by a into b, which is x raised by ab. We're going to say 2 to the power of 1 times 3 times minus x is minus 3x. So 2 raised by minus 3x is equals to 5 times x and 5 times minus 1. 2 raised to power 5 times x is 5x minus 5 times 1 is 5, right? So remember the law that says that whenever we have x raised to power a times x raised to power b, since the base are the same and its multiplication, we simply add the powers, right? So we add the powers. If that's the case, that's the same thing we can do to these ones, since the base are the same and its multiplication that is between them. So in this case, we're going to have 2 raised to power 1 plus minus 3x. Why? We add the power since the base are the same. So we have this equals to 2 to the power of 5x minus 5. And in this case, we are going to open this bracket, right? So if you open this bracket, this is going to be 2 raised to power negative, positive times negative is going to be negative. So we're going to have 1 minus 3x is equals to 2 raised to power 5x minus 5, right? So we equate the base. Since the base are the same, we equate the base. We'll be left with what? The powers only. So using the powers only, we're going to have to say equating the base, the basis. So we're going to have only the powers, that this one and this. So we're going to say 1 minus 3x is equals to 5x minus 5, right? So collect like terms in this case. We're going to group x, all those numbers with x on one side and those without x on the other side. So if that's the case, we're going to have 1. This minus 5 will cross, will be plus 5. So plus 5 is equals to 5x. This minus 3 will cross, will be plus 3, right? So plus 3x. So 1 plus 5 is 6 is equals to 5x plus 3x is 8x. So divide both sides by 8, right? The question of x. So 8, 8. So this cancel this. So now we'll be left with what? We'll be left with 6 over 8 is equals to x, right? So 2 here is 3 and 2 here is 4. So we have that 3 over 4 is equals to x. So we said therefore x is equals to 3 over 4. So that's our answer. So let's move to the next question. So question 4 says in the diagram PQRS is a quadrilateral. Angle PQR is equal to angle PRS, which is 90 degrees. And line PQ is equal to 3 centimeters, which is this 3 centimeters, right? Then line QR is equal to 4 centimeters, which is this. Then and P and line PS is 13 centimeters, which is this, right? Find the area of the quadrilateral. So from this question now, we can see that it's actually a quadrilateral. Here, can you see like this, and like this? Quadrilateral. And we know that a quadrilateral is any four-sided plane shape, right? So in this case now, in order for us to get the area of this quadrilateral, we can see that we are at two triangles, right? And this triangle A and this triangle B. So the best thing to do is to bring out the triangle. But remember that we have this angle PQR, right? And angle PRS are 90 degrees. So what is the meaning of this angle PQR? The question is trying to tell you that whenever you see alphabets arranged like this, the alphabet at the center is having the angle. So this Q is having the angle, and this R is having the angle. So angle PQR is 90 degrees. So PQR, which is on this, and PRS is 90, which is this. So all these ones are 90 degrees. So the best thing to do is to bring out the two triangles, triangle A and triangle B. Then calculate their areas. After calculating the area of the individual triangles, then you sum the area. If you sum the area, it's going to give you the total area. So let's see. So we're going to start with triangle A. So triangle A is something like this. Right angle here. Can you see? 3 centimeters here and 4 centimeters at the bottom. Of 3 centimeters and 4 centimeters, right? Remember that this is what PQR, right? P, Q, and R. And don't forget that this is triangle A, triangle A. So now, how can we get the area of this triangle? So in order to get the area of this triangle, we have to get the height and the base. So it's very possible for us to get the height and the base of triangle A. How? Because this is the height and this is the base. But it will be difficult for us to calculate the height of triangle B, because if you check it, it's going to be like this, right? And this angle is actually shown where the hypotenuse is. So the hypotenuse will be here, 13 centimeters, and this one here, the adjacent now, that's the height, right? The height here is unknown. So it will be best for us to use triangle A to get this side, the hypotenuse. One thing to note here is that the height of triangle B is actually the hypotenuse of triangle A. Can you see? This is the hypotenuse of triangle A, and that is the height of triangle B. So how can we get the height of triangle B? Are going to use triangle A to get the height of triangle B using what we call the Pythagoras rule, or the Pythagoras theorem. So let's check it out. Now, calculating the hypotenuse of triangle A, this place is going to be, we're going to calculate this PR, right? Calculating PR now using Pythagoras rule. What the Pythagoras rule says, as we know that the Pythagoras rule is used in calculating the side of a right angle triangle. So the Pythagoras rule says that the square of the hypotenuse, which is the longest side, this side, hypotenuse square, is equal to the side of the opposite, so opposite square, plus the square of the adjacent. So we have the adjacent square, right? So now, what is our hypotenuse? So our hypotenuse in this case is line PR. Remember that there is square. Remember there is square, so square is equal to, what is our opposite? So our opposite in this case is 3 centimeters. So we say 3 square plus adjacent is 4 centimeters, so 4 square. So we know that PR square, line PR square is equal to 3 square is 9 plus 4 square is 16, right? So then we have line PR square is equal to 9 plus 16 is 25. So we have 25. So how can we get our PR? We are looking for PR, not PR square. So we take the square root of both sides in order to remove this square, right? So whenever you have square, you want to remove the square, you take the square root of both sides. So if you take the square root of both sides, take the square root of both sides, you know that this square will cancel the square root. You will left with what? Line PR is equals to, the square root of 25 is 5. So it will be 5 centimeters. So our hypotenuse is going to be what? 5 centimeters. Therefore, this place is going to be what? 5 centimeters. The height of triangle B is now 5 centimeters. So now let's calculate its base now, so that we'll be able to calculate the area of the triangle. So let's calculate the base of triangle B. So for triangle B, we set triangle B. So this is triangle B. And remember that triangle B, we've calculated the height to be what? 5 centimeters, right? So if the height is 5 centimeters, that will be the what? The adjacent, and this is the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 13 centimeters. So hypotenuse is 13 centimeters, and the height is what we have calculated to be 5 centimeters. I remember labeling this, we have PRS, right? PRS. So PRS, right? So we're going to calculate the base because it's going to be useful while calculating the area of that triangle. So we're going to calculate RS. Now, using the Pythagoras rule, we know that Pythagoras says that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the square of the opposite plus the square of the adjacent. So what is our hypotenuse in this case? Our hypotenuse is 13 square is equals to the opposite is what? The opposite is 5 centimeters will be 5 square, right? Plus what is our adjacent? Our adjacent we don't know, which is line what is line RS squared, right? So what is 13 square? So let's use a calculator. 13 square is equal to 169. So this is 169 is equal to 5 square is 25 plus line RS squared, right? So collecting like terms, this 25 will move to this, and once it moves, it becomes subtraction, right? So it'll be 169 minus 25. So 169 minus 25 is the answer minus 25 is equal to 144 line RS square, right? So now 169 minus 25. What's our answer? Our answer is equal to 144. We're going to 144. So 144 is equal to line RS squared. So as usual, if we are looking for want to remove the square root, we take the square of both sides. So take the square root of what? Of both sides. So now in this case, we are going to have the square root. Take the square root. If you take the square root, these two cancel the square root, right? We'll be left with square root of 144 is equals to 12. So we're going to have 12 is equals to line RS. So therefore, line RS is equals to 12 centimeters. So that is our RS. So line RS was 12 centimeters. Are we there? Now we have calculated all the sides. It's now time for us to calculate the area of individual triangles so that we'll be able to merge the areas together, right? So now, so in order to calculate the area of triangle A, the area of triangle A, we know that the area of triangle, so of triangle is given as what? Half base times what? Height, right? So now what is our base? Our base is 4 centimeters for triangle A and the height is 3 centimeters. Half times our base is 4 times height is 3. So these two here is 1, 2 here is how many? 2 here is 2. We are left with A is equals to 2, 2 times 3, right? 2 times 3 is equals to what? 6 centimeter square. So that's the area of the triangle A. Can you see? Area of triangle A is 6 centimeter square. So let's calculate the area of triangle B. Area will be equal to half base times height. So half base times height. What is our base? Our base now is 12 centimeters and our height is 5 centimeters. So half base times height. So we'll have half. What is our base? Time is 12. And what is our height? Time is 5. So 2 here is 1. 2 here is 6. We'll be left with area is equals to 6 times 5 is equals to 30 centimeter square. So this is the area of triangle B, right? So now we're going to add the two what triangles, right? Remember we have A plus triangle B. So in that case, we're going to add the two areas so that we can get the total area. So now we're going to say area of the area of the quadrilateral is equals to area of A plus area of B, right? So now this will be what is the area of A? We calculated the area of A as 6 centimeters, right? So 6. So we're going to write 6 here plus what is the area of triangle B? We've seen that the area of triangle B is 30 centimeters plus 30, right? So 6 plus 30 is going to be the area of quadrilateral is going to be 36 centimeter square. So this is the total area of the quadrilateral. Alright, question 5 says 3 red balls, 5 green balls, and a number of blue balls are put together in a sack. One ball is picked at random from the sack. If the probability of picking a red ball is 1 over 6, A. Find the number of balls. Find A. The number of blue balls in the sack. B. The probability of picking a green ball. So based on the information we have here, we have been given that red balls is equals to 3, then green balls is equals to 5. But what about blue balls? The question just said a number of blue balls. That means we are not aware of it. We don't know the number of blue balls, right? So let's make it X because we don't know it. It's an unknown. Then the question went ahead to say that if the probability of picking a red ball is 1 over 6, so the probability of picking a red ball is 1 over 6, right? So now there's what we call sum of number space. The sum of number space is the total number of balls in the sack. So our sum of number space which we always write it like this is equals to, it will be the total number of balls, which it will be 3 plus 5 plus what, x, because this will be the total number of balls, this one's here. So of course x have to be part of it because we don't know it. So this one here is going to be our sum of number space will be equal to 3 plus 5 is 8 plus x. So this is our sum of number space. So in order for us to get the number of blue balls, of course we're going to use the red balls that we're given as to our advantage. Why? Because the information of red ball is complete. So we know that probability, generally the formula is probability is equals to number of outcome over sum of number space, right? So in this case, we are aware that the probability of getting a red ball is equals to the number of outcome, that's the number of red balls. So number of red balls over sum of number space. So remember that the probability of red balls has been given as 1 over 6. So instead of writing the probability of red balls, we're going to write what, 1 over 6. So we're going to say 1 over 6 is equals to, what's the number of red ball? The number of red ball is 3. So we're going to have 3 over, what is the sum of number space? Our sum of number space is 8 plus x. So over 8 plus x. So remember, whenever you have equal sign between fractions, you are going to cross multiply. So cross multiply, we have this multiplied by this and this multiplied by this. So we'll be having 8 plus x times 1 is same as 8 plus x is equal to 6 times 3. So 8, we have 8 plus x is equal to 6 times 3 is 18, right? So we have 8 plus x is equals to 18. So collect like terms. Remember that this 8 will move to the other side to meet its brother, that is just a number without x. So we're going to have x is equals to 18 minus 8. So 18 minus 8 is 10, right? So x is equals to 10. So the blue balls is actually what? 10. So we have 10 blue balls. 10 blue balls. We've gotten our x, right? So going back now, our new sum of number space will be what? Instead of x now will be new us. So will be sum of number space will be 8 plus, what is our x? Our x has been we've gotten our x as 10, so which will be 18. So our sum of number space is 18. So let's move to the next question. This is our A part. We've solved our A part by getting the number of blue balls. So let's find the probability of picking a green ball. So the probability of picking a green ball now, we'll say probability of green ball will be equal to number of green balls over sum of number space. So this one will be equal to, what's the number of green balls? Our number of green balls is 5 over, what is our new sum of number space? Now we're not going to use x plus x, we're going to use 18 because that's our new sum of number space, which is what? 18, right? So therefore the probability of green balls will be equal to 5 over 18. So this is the answer. Very simple. So let's move to the next question. All right. Question 6a says that the force of attraction F, right, between two bodies varies directly as the product of their masses. So it varies directly as the product of their masses m1. So multiply them, product that, right, of their masses m2, and inversely as the square of the distance. So inversely, that's over the square of the distance, as d square. You see, between them, given that the force is equal to 20 Newton and m1 is equal to 25 kg, then we have m2 is equal to 10 kg, and we have that d is equal to 5 meters. First question is, find an expression for F, that's the force, in terms of m1, m2, and d. So we have to find the expression of force in terms of mass 1, mass 2, and the distance. So remember that in variation, we have what we call constant. So we introduce a constant. So we say k is equal to constant. And if we introduce a constant, the constant will remove this variation sign and multiply it by the other side, right? So it's going to be F is equals to, now, then k times what? m1 m2 over d square. So this one will be F is equals to k m1 m2 over d square. Can you see? So now remember that we are given this as our information. So we're going to say, what is our F? This F now, it has been given as 20 Newton. So instead of F, we're going to write what? 20 Newton. So we have 20 is equals to, we don't know our K, that's K times, what is our M1? Our M1 here is 25 kg. So we said 25 times M2, which is 10 kg, times 10, over, what is D square? D square is 5 square. So we're going to say 5 squared, right? So this one is going to give us 20 equals to 25 times 10 times k. So 25 times 10 is 250, times k is going to be 250k, right? Over 5 square here is 5 times 5, which is 25, right? So this one is going to be, you balance this one with 1, what we're going to do, you cross multiply. 20 will multiply by 25 and 1 will multiply by 250. So by this we are going to have 250k is equals to 20 times 25. So 20 times 25, 20 times 25 is 500. So we're going to have 250k We said 20 times 25 is 500, right? So divide both sides by 250. So this 250 will cancel. Then 500 divided by 250, of course, is 2. But let's see, 500 divided by 250 is 2. So this one here is 1. This one here is 2. So we're going to say our k is equals to 2. So we've gotten k. But that is not the end. The first question says that we should find the expression for force in terms of m1, m2, and d. So how are we going to do to find that expression? So we know that we have this one here, right? Very, very important. So what is our f? We know that we have f is equals to, now we've gotten k, right? We've gotten this k. And what is that k? Is 2. So it will be 2 m1 m2 over d square. So this is the expression. This is the expression. That's number the Roman numeral 1. This is the expression. And this is the equation. This is the expression we're going to use for the next question. So Roman numeral II. So Roman numeral II says the distance d. Find the distance d. We have to find the, we don't know it. When force now in this case has been given as 30 Newton and M1 is given as 7.5 kg and M2 is now 4 kg. So now we're going to use this expression to solve that. So we know that from that expression we have that f is equals to 2m1 m2 over d square. So now what is our f? Our f has been given now as 30. We see it here is equals to 2 times, what is our m1? Our m1 is 7.5 times m2, which is 4 over d square, which is now the unknown. So we have d square, right? So now if you multiply this, you're going to have 30 equals to, let's multiply 2 times 7.5 times 4 is equals to 60. So we're going to have 60 over d square. Balance this one with 1, cross multiply. So 30 will multiply by this and 60 will multiply by this. And this will be what? 30d square, right? Because 30 times d square is 30d square equals to 60, because 60 times 1 times 1 is 60. So divide both sides by what? 30. 30. So this will cancel this. Is that not? Then 60 divided by 30. 30 here is 1. 30 here is 2. So we'll be left with d square equals to 2. So we're looking for d, not d square. So how are we going to get our d square, our d? In mathematics, whenever you have a square and you want to remove it, you take the square root of both sides. So we say take square root of both sides. So take the square root of both sides. If you take the square root of both sides, this to cancel the square root, we'll be left with d equals the root 2 meters since it is distance. So this is our d. Our d is root 2. Oh, you can press your calculator and you have points, right? So that is all for this question. Question 6b, we have a diagram here and the question says find the value of x. But the first question to ask yourself is, what type of shape is this? So this is actually, let's count the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is actually 5-side plane shape, which is pentagon, right? So this is a pentagon. So since it is a pentagon, we are asked to find x, right? So we're going to say it is pentagon. So therefore n is equals to 5. So remember that we have a formula that the sum of, given as the sum of angles in a polygon is given as n minus 2 180 times 180. So where n is the number of sides, and remember that this number of sides is now what, 5. So we're going to have that the sum of angles will be 5 minus 2 times what, 180. So this will be 5 minus 2 is 3. So 3 times 180 degrees. 3 times 180 degrees is 540. So we have 540 degrees. So this is the sum of angles in this shape. Now we are asked to find x. How are we going to find x? Since we know that the sum of angles in this plane shape is 540, that is, if you add this angle plus this angle plus this angle plus this angle and plus this angle, you should be able to give us this 540 degrees. So what I'm going to do, we're going to set x at all the angles. We're going to say x plus, then we have x plus 20, x plus 20 plus x plus 40, x plus 40 plus x plus 80 plus x plus 60. And say x plus 60 is all equated to what? 540, right? So 540. So now let's add all the x together and the numbers together. So we're going to have x 1 2 3 4 and 5. We have 5x, right? So 5x plus, we have 20 plus 40 is 60. 60 plus 80, we have 60 plus 80, 140. So we have 140 plus 60 plus 60, we're going to have 200, right? We're going to say 5x plus 200 is equals to 540. So collect item, this 200 will move to the other side, it's going to be minus. So we're going to have 5x is equals to 540 minus 200. So 540 minus 200, 540 minus 200, 340. So 5x is equals to 340, 40. So divide both sides by what? Divide both sides by 5 by 5. So 5 here will cancel 5. You are left with what? X equals to 340 divided by 5. So we already have 348 divided by 5. The answer is 68. So our x is 68 degrees. 68 degrees. So that is our answer, 68 degrees. So the first thing to do is to calculate the total angles, the sum of angles. After calculating the sum of angles, then you add everything and equate it to that sum of angles. So the answer is 68 degrees. Let's move to the. All right, question 7 says the data show the marks obtained by students in a biology test, and these are the scores of the students. Question 7 says construct a frequency distribution table using the class interval of 0 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and so on and so forth. So we have to continue from there. Of course, you know that they will never give us the complete class interval. So we are going to use the difference between the higher class and the lower class to get our next class interval, right? So what's the next? The first thing to do is we are going to write down the class interval. So say class interval, that's the first thing. So in the class interval, we have 0 to 9, then we have 10 to 19, then we have 20 to 29. So what do you think will be the next? Of course, it will be 30 to 39. Then we have 40 to 49. 90 to 99. We're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. Why? Because if you will check, the highest value or the highest score we have here is 97, right? So that means it's not up to 100. So whenever you're doing it, you have to check the lowest and the highest score, or lowest and the highest value. So since our highest value is 97, we're going to stop in 90 to 99. So what's the next thing we're going to do? Of course, we're going to look for the tally, where we're going to enter all these scores. So we say tally. So this is where you have to be very careful. Even if you have someone that is asking you in the exam hall, you have to finish this part before you respond, because responding while counting it, you may likely make an error, and once there's an error, it will affect all your results. So let's do the tally. We're going to start from here. We say 52, cancel it. 52 will be under here, that's 1. Then we have 56. 56 will still be here. 25. 56 here. 68. 73. 66. 64. 56. 48. 20. 39. 9. 50. Cross it, it's up to 5, right? 97. 65. 21. 46. 60. 42. So that's all for the data. So the next thing we're going to find is the frequency, or F, right? So now, how many is this tally? Is 1. That's how the importance of tally is 1. This one here we have 3. This we have 3 also. This one here we have 6. This one here we have 8. This one here we have 12. This one here we have 6. This one here we have 3, 4, and finally we have 4. From the frequency now, we'll be able to get the total number of students that sit for the exam. How? By the time we add all of this. So we're going to say summation F, right? That's sum of the frequency. Summation F is equals to, we have 1 plus 3 plus 3 plus 6 plus 8 plus 12 plus 6 plus 3 plus 4 plus 4 is equal to 50. So the total frequency is 50. 50, right? So the next thing to do is, we may want to find the class boundaries, right? Class boundaries. What are class boundaries? Class boundary is simply, we are going to simply subtract 0.5 from the lower class interval and add 0.5 on the higher class interval. So if we're doing this, the first one is usually addition. We have 0.5 to, now it will be 9.5. We're going to add 0.5, 9.5. Then we're going to subtract 0.5 is going to be 9.5 to 19.5. Add 0.5 there. This one here is going to be 20 minus 0.5 is going to be 19.5 to 29.5. You see, this one is going to be 29.5 to 39.5. You can see that wherever the other class boundary ends, that's the beginning of the other class boundary. So next one is going to be 39.5. Just continue that way to 49.5. Then you have, here we have 89.5 to 99.5. That's it. So the next thing you may want to find is the cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency. Cumulative frequency. cumulative frequency is usually in this form, zigzag. So that means you're going to carry the first one and write it here, write it here. Then we add to the value here, you get what is here. You add the value vertically, you get what is the next value here. So that's what we're going to use. So we're going to say, what is our frequency? Our frequency is actually 1. So we're going to write the frequency here. So 1 plus 3 is going to give us 4. We write it here. 4 plus 3 is what? 7. That's what we're going to be doing. Then 7 plus the next one, 6, is going to give us 13. Then 13 plus 8 is going to give us 21. Then 21 plus 12 is going to give us 33. Then 33 plus 6 is going to give us 39. Then 39 plus 3, we're going to have 42. Then 42 plus 4 is what? 46. Then 46 plus lastly 4 is going to give us 50. So you can see the cumulative frequency always, the last value in the cumulative frequency should be the same with the frequency, normal frequency, right? So that's what we're having. So this is our frequency distribution table. So we are done with question 1A. So let's move to question 1B. All right, we've solved the first part of the question, which is construction of frequency distribution table. Now the second question is to draw a cumulative frequency curve for the distribution. So in this question we will need to use a graph so that we're able to plot the cumulative frequency curve. So let's give it a try. All right, with me here is a graph, right, with the information we've gotten from the data. So we're going to use it in plotting the graph. The question says we should plot a cumulative frequency curve for the data. So the question is, how do we plot cumulative frequency curve? Of course, is using the cumulative frequency and the upper class limit of the class boundaries. This is the class boundary, so we're going to use the upper class limit. That means we're going to use all these ones, right? So usually the cumulative frequency curve is plot the cumulative frequency against the class boundary. We also call it the class mark because we're going to use the upper class limit of the class boundary. We call it class mark, right? So cumulative frequency, this cumulative frequency against the class marks, right? We are going to, as we said, plot using the upper class limit of the class boundary. So the next thing to do is to find a suitable scale that will make our graph to fit in the available space, right? Now, what we always do is to check the highest value and the lowest value. It will help us. Now, for the cumulative frequency, the highest value is 50. So how we're going to do so that 50 will fit into this graph? We are aware that each of these bold box is 1 centimeter. So we can use 1 centimeter to represent 5 units on the cumulative frequency axis. So if you say 1 centimeter to represent 5 units, that means in every 1 centimeter we're going to be adding 5 units. So we know that the origin is usually 0. So we have 0 here. Then we have 5. Since we said that each centimeter will represent 5 units. Then the next one will be about 10, of course. Then we have 15. Then we have 20. We have 25. We have 30. And we have 50. So now this is on the what? Cumulative frequency axis. Then what about the class mark? Remember, we are going to use the upper class limit of the class boundaries. 1 centimeter to represent 10 units, right? So 10 units in such a way that, so we know that from 9.5 to 19.5 is 10 units. So we are going to make use of this from 9.5 to 19.5 to 29.5. So from 9.5, which is the origin of 0, after 9.5 is what? 19.5, right? Can you see it here? So 19.5. The next one will be what? 29.5. Next one will be 39.5. Next 49.5. Next one will be 59.5. Next will be 69.5. Next 79.5. Then 89.5. Then 99.5. You can move further if you want to, but we know that the highest value is 99.5, so we can stop there. So having done this, the next thing is to get our coordinates, right? So let's see. The first one, when the cumulative frequency is 1, the class mark is 9.5. So how are we going to get 1? Remember that these ones are from 0 to 5. So in each big box, we have 10 small lines, right? So in order for us to know the value of each small box, we have to carry the first digit, that's 5, divided by the number of boxes, which is 10. 5 divided by 10, 5 divided by 10, it will be 0.5. That means each small box on the cumulative frequency axis is 0.5. From here to here is 0.5. Here 0.5, here 0.5, continues 0.5. So as they are small, they also have their values, right? So now remember, we are looking for 1. 1 will be 0.5 plus 0.5. Of course, we know we'll have 1. So that means 1 is on the second small box here. So when the cumulative frequency is 1, the class mark is 9.5, which is, this is 9.5. So they're going to meet here. And see? Then next one is when the cumulative frequency is 4, the class mark is 19.5. So 4 and 19.5. So let's look for 4. 4 will be, the first line is 0.5. The second line will be what? It will be 1, because 0.5 plus 0.5 is 1. The next one now will be 1.5. After 1.5, we'll have 2, then 2.5, then 3, then 3.5, then 4. 4 will be here around this side, right? 4 will be around this side. So when it is 4, then the cumulative frequency is 4. The class mark is 19.5, and this is 19.5. They're going to meet here. And see? So the next thing is when the cumulative frequency is 7, the class mark is 29.5. This is 5. This is 5 here. Then 5 will add what? We add 2 to it. So we know if you are to get 2, it's going to be here. So when it is 7, it is 29.5 on the class mark. So class mark is 29.5. This is 29.5. So let's see where they're going to meet. They're going to actually meet here, right? The next one is when it is 13, the class mark is 39.5. So let's check 13. 13 will be here. When it is 13.5, it is 39.5. So 39.5 is here. So let's see, where are they going to meet? They're going to meet here. The next is when it is 21, it will be 49.5. So where can we get 21? 21 is 2 lines above 20, which is this. So when it is 21, it is 49.5. So 49.5 is here. They're going to meet here. The next is when it is 33, it's going to be 59.5. This is 33. Then it's going to be 59.5, and this is 59.5. So let's check it. Where are they going to meet? Of course, they're going to meet here. And the next is 39. When it is 39, it's going to be 69.5. 39 is going to be 2 boxes before 40. So this one here. That's it. So when it is 39, it is actually 69.5, and this is 69.5. So let's check 69.5. Where are they going to meet? They're going to meet here. Right? So the next one is 42. 42, when it is 42, is 79.5. So let's check 42. 42 will be 4 lines above 40. So what is going to be here? So when it is 42, it is 79.5. So this is 79.5. So let's trace it and see where they're going to meet. They're going to meet here. Good. So the next one is 46. When it is 46, it's going to be 89.5. So when it is 46, it is actually 85.5. So this 85.5. So let's see where we're going to meet. Of course, they're going to meet here. Going to meet here. Then lastly, we have 50. When it is 50, it's going to be 99.5. So 50 is 50 is 99.5, and they are going to meet here. This is the last point. So we have to draw a graph. As you know, it's going to be from here. Pass through all the points. So this is our cumulative frequency curve. So let's see the next question. So for now, we are done with the first one and the B part. Alright, the next question is, that's question C. It says using the graph to estimate the median. So what is median? Of course, median is usually known as the middle number. So how can you get the median? The simplest thing to do is to check your cumulative frequency or the total frequency. The total frequency is 50. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to say median is equal to 50 divided by 2. You're going to have 25. So that doesn't mean 25 is your answer. What I'm going to do, you're going to trace 25 from the cumulative frequency, and whatsoever it gives us as a mark, that's what we're going to use. So let's try and trace it using our graph. Try and trace 25 from our cumulative frequency. So where's 25? This is 25, right? We're going to trace it straight to the curve. So this is our 25. So we're going to trace it directly to the curve and see what we're going to have. So let's trace it. We have it here directly on the curve. Then we'll trace it down to the mark axis and see what we're going to have. So what do you think would be our median from the information? So since 49, this 49.5 is closer, we're going to use it. So 49, the next box after 49, smaller box will be, which what, 49.6. Then the next one is 49.7, and our line is 49.8. So this is actually 49.8. Yeah, we're going to say that our median is what is equal to 49.8. So that's the median. So let's see the next question. All right. Question 7CII says we are to find the percentage of students who scored at least 66 marks, right? So we're going to check the data we have here. How many students have at least 66? That means 66 should be the least, right? So we have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So we have 13 among the students, 13 students that scored at least 66 marks. So we have to find the percent, right? To find the percentage. That's what the question says. We should find the percentage. Remember, we've gotten how many students? 13 students. So we're going to say I is what percentage? Percentage of at least 66 marks, right? So now it's going to be, what is the total number of students we have? The total frequency is 50. And how many students have we gotten that have at least 66 score? Is 66 marks is 13 students. So we're going to say 13 over the total number of students, which is 50, times 100, because we are expressing in percentage. We know that 50 here is 1, 50 here is 2. So we're left with 13 times 2, which is 26. So 26% of the students scored 66, at least 66. So that's all for the question. Alright, question 8 is, it says that solve the inequalities 1 over 3 x minus 1 over 4 into x plus 2 close bracket greater or equals to 3x minus one whole number 1 over 3. So the first thing to do is to check if there's any mixed fraction, then we'll convert it to improper fraction, in which this is 1. Another thing is to open the bracket if there is 1. Of course, this is 1. So we're going to open the bracket. So this is going to be 1 over 3x. So opening this bracket is same thing as saying, so whenever you have, for example, x over y into x plus y is the same thing as saying this one multiplied by this, right? So if that's the case, it's same thing as saying balances this one with 1 and this will multiply by 1, right? And if you multiply this bracket by 1, you're going to have same thing as the bracket x plus 2 over 1 times 4, the denominator multiplied by themselves will be 4. So we're going to have 4 here. Then we have greater or equals to 3x minus, then converting this to improper fraction will be 1 times 3 is 3, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So we're going to have 4 over 3 over 3, right? So what's the next thing? The next thing to do is to take the LCM of the denominators, since the denominators are different. But before doing that, make sure you balance this one with 1, right? So we're going to take the LCM of the denominator. So what's the LCM of 3, 4, and 3? So the LCM is simply, since we have 3 and 3 is repeating itself, you just take the LCM of 4 and 3. And another way of taking the LCM by just by multiplying 3 times 4 is 12, right? So we're going to have 12 here. So we said 12 divided by 3 is 4. Then 4, the 4 time is 1 multiplied by x. So we're going to have 4x, right? So we're going to have 4x, then minus 12 divided by 4 is 3, right? And 3 times x plus 2. So we're going to have 3 into x plus 2, right? Then we have our greater or equal to sign. Then 12 divided by 1 is 12. And 12 times 3x, right? Is going to be 36x. So we're going to have 36x. Then we have our minus. Then 12 divided by 3 is 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. So we're going to have 16. So in this case, after doing that, cancel the denominator, cancel the LCM. Why? Because of the presence of equality sign here. So this is trying to tell you, whenever you take the LCM of any fraction and there is equality sign, after taking the LCM, cancel the denominator or cancel the LCM. But if there is no equality sign, then the LCM will now be the denominator, right? So doing that, we'll have a linear equation. 4x minus this 3 is going to open this bracket by multiplying by x and 2. So we have 3 times x is 3x, negative times positive is negative. So I have minus 3 times 2 is 6. Then we have greater or equal to 36x minus 16. So collecting like terms now, all those numbers will move to one side and those with x to another side. So we're going to move all the x to our right hand side and all the numbers to our left hand side. So now before doing that, we know that 4x minus 3x is going to give us x, right? Just like 5 cows minus 4 cows. Instead for us to say 1 cow, we'll say a cow, right? So we're going to have x, then we have minus minus 6, then greater or equal to 36x minus 16. So collecting like terms now, we're going to move, as we said, the x to our right hand side while the numbers to our left hand side. So we're going to have minus 6. This 16 will move to the left hand side, so, and it's minus 16 is going to be plus 16 in this case. So plus 16, you have greater or equal to 36x, then this x will move to the other side, will be minus x, right? Minus x. Minus 16 plus 16 minus 6 plus 16 is equals to 10, right? Minus 6 plus 16 is equals to 10. Then we have greater or equal to 36 minus x is 36x minus x is going to be 35x, right? Just like saying 36 cows minus a cow is going to give us 35 cows. So divide both sides by 35. So divide both sides by 35. 35 will go here. And we're having 5 here. 5 here is 2. And 5 into 35 is 7. So we're having 2 over 7 greater or equals to x. So in order to make this statement to be true, since we said that 2 over 7 is greater than x, that means x is less than or equal to 2 over 7. So if I said A is greater than B is sent as saying B is less than A. Is that not? So since that's the case, we're going to, in order to make this statement true, it will be better to say X is less or equals to 2 over 7, right? So it's another way of writing the statement. Instead for me to say A is greater than B, I can say B is less than A, right? So instead of saying 2 over 7 is greater or equal to X, I can say that X is less or equals to 2 over 7. So these are answer. All right, question 9a. The question says copy and complete the table of values for y equals to 2 cos x plus 3 sine x. And for the value of x, it ranges from 0 to 360 degrees. Of course, that's the meaning of this statement, right? For the value of x, it ranges from 0 to 360 degrees. The table has been prepared already. They just want us to calculate. So using this equation now, we're going to calculate the value of 60 degrees. Wherever we see x, we're going to put 60. And whatsoever value we get, we're going to put it in this box. Of course, some have already been done for us. We have this one and this have already been done. So we're going to calculate for each value of x. We have 60, 120, 180, 300, and 360. And after getting the answer, we're going to put them inside the table. Of course, later on we're going to use them. So let's give it a try then. So now writing the first one is when x is equals to 60 degrees, right? So for 60 degrees, when x is equals to 60 degrees, so say when x equals to 60 degrees. So let's use this equation. We know that the equation is y is equals to 2 cos x plus 3 sine x, right? So using this now, wherever we see x, we're going to put our 60 degrees. Remember that that's the value of x. So it's going to be y is equals to 2 cos 60 plus 3 sine 60. And this will give us y is equals to 2 times, what is cos 60? It's equals to 0.5. So we're going to say our cos 60 now is 0.5. Then plus 3 times sine 60. What is sine 60? Is 0.866. So now 2 times 0.5, of course 2 times 0.5 is 1, plus 3 times 0.866, so times 3, we're going to have 2.598. So if you add 2.598 plus 1, we're going to have 3.598. So in one decimal place, so it's going to be 3.6. So we're going to have our y now is equal to 3.6. So we're going coming back here, so 3.6 here. So let's go for when x is equals to 120 degrees. So we say when x is 120 degrees, right? So we know that our y is equals to 2 cos x plus 3 sine x. That will be equals to 2 cos, what is our x? 120 degrees plus 3 sine 120 degrees, right? So what is cos 120 degrees? Is minus 0.5. So have minus 0.5 plus 3 times sine 120 degrees. We're going to have 0.866, right? So now 2 times, remember that this is negative, minus times plus is minus, 2 times 0.5 is 1. So we have plus 3 times 0.866, of course, is the same thing with this one, right? So it's going to be 2.5 2.598. So minus 1 plus 2.598 plus 2.598. We're going to have 1 point. It's going to be 1.6. So y is going to 1.6. So we said 1.6. Right? So let's go when x is equal to 180 degrees. So we know that we have y equals to so cos 180 degrees is what? Is minus 1 plus 3 times sine 180 degrees is 0. So we're going to have times 0. Right? So 2 times minus 1 is minus 2 plus 3 times 0 is 0. So minus 2 plus 0, we know that our y now is going to be minus 2. So we're going to say minus 2, right? Then, so when x is equals to 300 now. So let's see. We know we're going to have. So what is cos 300? Is 0.5. So say 0.5 plus 3 times sine 300 is minus 0.866. 66. So now multiply it 2 times 0.5, of course, is going to be 1 plus 3 times minus 0.866. This one is going to be minus. So it's minus 2.6. Minus 2.6. So we're going to have 1 positive times negative is negative, right? So we're going to have 1 minus 2.6. So 1 minus 2.6 is going to be 1 plus 1. So of course it's minus 1 minus 1.6. So our y now will be minus 1.6. So come back here, right? Minus 1.6. So when x is equal to 360, that will be our last point. 60 degrees, right? So when x is equal to 360 degrees, we know that our y now is equal to 2 cos 360 plus 3 sine 360. So this will be 2 times, what is cos 360? Is 1 plus 3 times sine 360 is 0, right? So we know that 2 times 1 is 2 plus 0, because 3 times 0 is 0. Of course, we know that our y now will be equals to 2, right? So we'll put 2. So that is it for the calculation. So let's see the other part of this question. Of course, we know that a question like this will always be accompanied with sub questions under it. So let's see the next question. All right, we've solved the first part of the question by solving for y and filling it in the empty spaces provided in the table. It's now left for us to go to the next question. The second part of the question says, using a scale of 2 centimeters to 60 degrees on x-axis and 2 centimeters to 1 unit on y-axis, draw the graph of y equals to 2 cos x plus 3 sin x for the value of x ranging from 0 to 360 degrees. So now the scale has been given to us, which has made our work very easy. because students always have problem in finding a suitable scale that will make their graph to fit into their page. So if that's the case now, since the scale has been given unto us, the scale is 2 centimeters to represent 60 degrees on the x-axis, and we know that the x-axis is usually the horizontal axis, right? So our x-axis now will be this horizontal one, right? And our y-axis will be the one on the vertical lines. This is our y-axis. Can you see? So this is it. So remember that the scale has been given, that using the scale of 2 centimeters to represent 60 degrees on x-axis. So on the x-axis now, 2 centimeters to represent 60 degrees, and we know that this graph is already in 2 centimeters. So if that's the case, each of these black box is 2 centimeters, and in these 2 centimeters is made up of 10 small boxes, right? So the question says 2 centimeters represent 1 unit. That means in every 2 centimeters we're going to have, the question says 2 centimeters to represent 60 degrees. That means in every 2 centimeters we're going to add what? 60 degrees, and so on and so forth. So we know that the origin is usually 0, right? Then the first one will be 60 degrees. Second will be 60 plus 60 is 120 degrees, right? Then 120 degrees plus 60 is 180 degrees. Then 180 degrees plus 60 degrees is 240 degrees. Then 240 degrees plus 60 degrees is 300 degrees. Then 300 plus 60 is going to be 360 degrees. So that's our x-axis. While on the y-axis, the scale is given that 2 centimeters represent 1 unit on the y-axis. We said on the y-axis is 2 centimeters represent 1 unit. So in every 2 centimeters, we're going to put 1 unit, right? We're adding 1 unit. And I've already said that this graph is in every dark box is 2 centimeters. So this one is going to be 1 unit here, because in every 2 centimeters there's 1 unit. So 1 plus 1 is 2 unit, plus another one is 3, and plus another one is 4 unit. Can you see? So that's it. Then we know we have negative values, right? And the y is on the y-axis. So these are negative values. That means we have to extend the values of y to negative numbers. We know that below the positive numbers are the negative numbers of y. So this one will be minus 1. This one will be minus 2. This is minus 3. And this is minus 4. So these are the values for y. So the next thing to do is to plot the graph. And before plotting the graph, one thing we should understand here is it will be better for us to know the unit or the value of these smaller boxes found in our large box. And if we know the value of each box, it will make our work easier. And how we're going to get it? It is very easy. Just carry the first value here, which is 1. So how many boxes do we have? Smaller boxes do we have in the box? Is actually 10. We have 10 of them. So if you want to get the value of each small box, we're going to say this first value, which is 1 divided by the 10 boxes. So we're going to say 1 divided by 10. So 1 divided by 10 is actually 0.1. So each of these small box is 0.1 unit. Is that not? So if that's the case, so let's plot it. So we already have the values here. So let's plot it. When x is 0, y is 2. This is our x-axis is 0 already here, right? So y is 2. So let's locate 2 on the y-axis. This is 2, right? So we'll start the point. So these are 2. The next one is when it is 60 degrees, it is actually 3.6 on the y-axis. So 60 degrees, of course, you know that this is 60 degrees. It is what? 3.6. So We don't have 3.6, but how we're going to get 3.6 is very easy using our smaller boxes. Remember, we said that each of the small box is 0.1. That means it is very easy for us to get 3.6. So 3.6 will be, this is 3, right? Then that means the next box after it is going to be 3.1. Then we have 3.2, 3.3, 3.4, 3.5, and 3.6. It will be here. 3.6 will be here. So now when it is 60 degrees, it is 3.6. They are going to meet here. The next one is when x is 120 degrees, y is 1.6. So when x is 120 degrees, y is 1.6. So where is 120 degrees? This is 120 degrees. And y is 1.6. So where is 1.6? Of course, this is 1. 1.6 is, we'll count how many boxes? 6 boxes above 1. So this will be, so it's going to be here, right? So when it is 120, it is 1.6. Of course, they are going to meet here. So the next one is when x is 180 degrees, y is minus 2. This is our 180 degrees. So y is minus 2. This is minus 2, right? They are going to meet here. So the next is when x is 240 degrees, y is minus 3.6. This is 240 degrees, right? And what of minus 3.6? That means we're going to get, this is minus 3. We're going to count 6 boxes below minus 3, right? Since it's increasing downward, or we're going to say it's decreasing per se, because minus 4 is smaller than minus 3. So now we're going to count 6 boxes below minus 3. So it's going to be here, right? So when it is 240 degrees, so they are going to meet here. The next is when x is 300, y is minus 1.6. Of course, this is at 300 here degrees, and y is minus 1.6. That means you're going to count 6 boxes below minus 1. So it's going to be here. So we say when it is 300, y is minus 1.6. Of course, they are going to meet here. So the last point, when x is 360, y is 2. So of course, this is our 360 degrees, right? And y is 2. So where is 2? This is 2. We're going to meet here, right? So it's now time for us to draw our graph meeting all the points, right? So in drawing the graph, we're going to have, I can use ruler to make it neat. So we're going to have something like this. So this is our graph. It's looking neat and nice, right? So let's see the next question. All right, question C now. It says using the graph, we should solve 2 cos x plus 3 sin x. This, right, the third part of the question says using the graph, solve 2 cos x plus 3 sin x equals to minus 1. So now in this case now, we know that this equation is the same thing with this equation, right? But in this case now, the question says the question has equated, the question has, but in this case, now the equation now has been equated to minus 1, right? That means y is equals to minus 1. So we're going to solve it using y equals to minus 1. So we're going to go back to our graph and trace when y is equals to minus 1. What are we going to get as x? Or what are we going to get as the angle? So let's go back to the graph and locate minus 1 from our y-axis, because the equation now has been equated to minus 1. So that means y now is equals to minus 1. So let's go back to the graph and check it. So on the graph now, remember the question says when y is equals to minus 1. Of course, when y is equals to minus 1, we're going to trace it to the curve. So using the ruler now, we're going to trace it to the curve, right? So tracing it to the curve now, we're going to have something like this. Dotted line. And once we get to the graph, to the line, we stop, right? And also remember that we also have another part of the line here. So we're going to stop here. Then we trace it up to our x. So tracing this part up to our x, we're going to have something like this. Dotted line up, right? And the same thing will happen here. Dotted line up. So now after drawing it, you can see that we have 2 points. The first point is here and the second point is here. So now what are those points? The question says we should solve it. So that means we have to find the value on this x-axis. So now how can we get these values? Of course, we know that it is very possible using the small boxes in these larger boxes. So now, in order for us to know the value of each small box on the x-axis, we're going to use the same method we use on the y-axis. We're going to divide 60 by 10, because there are actually 10 boxes, 10 smaller boxes in each large box, right? So we're going to say 60 divided by 10, which is going to give us 6. So every small box is 6 degrees, right? So now with this, we already know that we have 120 here, right? We have 120 and we want to find this point. How we're going to do? We're going to say 120 and we should count the number of boxes. After 120, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 boxes. So we have 7 boxes. I'm going to say 7 times what? 6, because each box is 6 degrees. So it says 7 times 6 is going to be 42. And we are going to add it to the 120 degrees. This 120 degrees plus 120 degrees we'll get 162 degrees. So it's going to be 162 degrees here, up here, 162 degrees. Then what about the other point here? We're going to do the same thing. Of course, we know that each small box is 6 degrees. So it's easier for us to know it because there are 2 boxes after 300. So each box is 60 degrees. It's going to be 6 times 2, which is 12. So 12 plus 300 is going to be 312 degrees. Come on, 312 degrees. So that's our x. We have answered question CI. So let's see the other question. The next question. All right, the next question says find correct to one decimal point the value of y when x is 342 degrees. So in this case now, we're going to find the value of y when x is equal to 342 degrees. So we're going to locate 342 degrees on the x-axis. So let's see, we're going to get 342 degrees. 342 degrees is going to be We know that this is 300, right? Now we are looking for 342 degrees. So 342 degrees will be around here, right? Will be around this point. So since it's going to be around this point, of course it's going to be 300 plus 7 boxes, because 7 boxes will give you 42. Why? Because we know that each small box is 6 degrees, right? So we're going to count 7 boxes, add it to 300, it's going to be 342, because 7 boxes there will be 6 times 7, and 6 times 7 is 42. So 42 plus the 300 is going to give us 342. So 7 boxes, let's count 7 boxes here. So it is going to be here. So the question says we should trace it. We should find y when x is 342 degrees. So we're going to trace it to the graph, right? And trace it back to the y-axis and see what we're going to have. So let's use our ruler. Of course, this is 342 degrees. So using our ruler to trace it on the graph. So now trace it to the y-axis. This is where it's meeting on the graph. So trace it back to the y-axis and see what we're going to have. So this is it on the y-axis. So now what is this point? What's going to be this point? So let's calculate it and see. Remember that we said that each small box on the y-axis is 0.1 unit, right? So now we know that from 0 to 0, we count it 7 boxes. There are what? There are 7 boxes above 0. So we say 7 times 0.1, because each of the box is 0.1. It's going to give us 0.7. So that means in our CII, when x is equals to 342 degrees, y is equals to 0.7 unit. So that's the information we can deduce from this graph, right? So I believe you understand it. So that's all for this question. All right, question 10. The question says a woman bought 130 kg of tomatoes for 52,000 naira. She sold half of the tomatoes at a profit of 30%. The rest of the tomatoes began to go bad. She then reduced the selling price per kg by 12%. We are to calculate A, the new selling price per kg, and B, the percentage profit of the entire sales if she threw away 5 kg of the bad tomatoes. So how are we going to go about this? So from the question now, we know the weight of the entire tomatoes is 130 kg. So we say weight is equal to 130 kg, right? Then we say the cost of the tomatoes was 52,000. So we say cost 52,000 naira, right? Now, remember the question says that she sold half of the tomatoes. So now, if she will sell half the tomatoes at a profit of 30%, so for half tomatoes now, so sold half, right? Sold half. So if she sold half, we know that the profit for the half now, from our question, the profit for the half is actually what is considered 30%, right? So it's 30%. And we see that the selling price per kg for the leftover is what? Is 12%. That's the selling price of the leftover. So it says selling price of leftover 12%, right? So these are the information we have. Now, in order for us to solve this, remember that the question says that she sold half of the tomatoes at 30%. So in order to get the actual amount she sold, or in order for us to get the actual quantity of the tomatoes she sold, right? Since we already have the amount, we can divide it by 2, and we already have the kg, we can divide it by 2, right? So now we want to, for us to get the weight of the half now. So the weight of the half now is actually, we're going to carry the weight of the entire tomatoes, which is 130 kg, and divide it by 2. So it's going to be, and 130 divided by 2 is 65 kg. We're going to have 65 kg. So this is the weight of half of the tomatoes. Then what about the cost of half of the tomatoes? Of course, we already know the entire cost is 52. So if we divide it by 2, we know the cost of half of it. So it's going to be 52,000 divided by 2. And 52,000 divided by 2 is actually 22,000 naira. So that's the amount they have. 26,000 naira. Going to be 26,000 naira, and that's the amount for the half of the tomatoes. So remember, the first question says we should find the new selling price per kg. So in order for us to find the selling price per kg, we have to find the selling price first of that half. So we know that we already have the percentage of the half, which is 30%, right? And we have the cost of the half, which is 26,000, and we have the weight, which is 65. It's very possible for us to get the selling price. So we know that generally percentage profit is equals to selling price minus cost price over cost price times 100. You see, over 1. So using this now, we'll be able to get our selling price. Why? Because we already have the percentage profit, we have the cost price, so we can be able to get our selling price, right? So let's give it a try. Now, substituting this, what is our percentage profit? Our percentage profit, we've calculated to be, we've gotten it to be, from the question, is 30%. So we substitute it with 30%. That's 30 is equals to, what is our selling price? We don't know. So that's what we are looking for, of course. Selling price minus, what is our cost price? Our cost price from where we just, what we've just calculated is 26,000. We have 26,000 over our cost price, which is what? 26,000 times 100 over 1. So in this case now, we're going to have 30 is equals to, we can multiply this 100 by the entire numerator here. The easiest way is to say selling price minus 26,000, multiply it all through by 100 over 1 times this 26,000 is going to be 26,000, of course. Now, when you open this bracket, open the bracket, this 100 will multiply by this 26,000 and is going to multiply by the selling price, which is an unknown. So this one is going to be 30 is equals to 100 times SP is 100 SP, right? Then we have minus 100 times 26,000 is going to be 26,000. Just add 2 zeros to it. Yes, that's what? That's 2,600,000, right? Over 26,000. We can cross multiply. Why? Because we can balance one with one. And if we balance this one with one, we can cross multiply. If we cross multiply, this will multiply by this, and this one will multiply by this. Now, if we do that, we're going to have 100 SP minus 2,600,000 times 1. If we multiply by 1, right? This one will multiply by the entire list. So actually, because n multiplied by 1 is same as that number, then we have 30 times 26,000. So let's use a calculator. 30 times 26,000. 780,000. 780,000 is equals to our 100 SP minus 22,600,000, right? So what I'm going to do, we're looking for SP, right? So this one that is having alphabet is going to be our unknown. So we're going to move this one without alphabet to this place, right? We're going to move it to the other side. And once we move it, remember it's negative, it's going to change to positive. So we're going to have 100 SP is equals to 780,000 plus 2,600,000. So we're going to have 100 SP is equals to, so let's add this with 780,000 plus is equals to 3,380,000. We're going to have 3380000. So what I'm going to do, we're looking for SP, right? So we divide both sides by 100. So set both sides by 100. So we divide both sides by 100. This one will cancel this, right? Then these two zeros will cancel these two zeros. 33,800. So our selling price is equal to 33,800. So this is our selling price. Okay, so this is our selling price. But remember, this is the entire selling price for the half of the tomatoes, but we are looking for the selling price per kg. So selling price per kg now, because the question says we should calculate the selling price per kg. So we're going to say selling price per kg. So how we're going to get selling price per kg is simply by dividing the selling price by the kg of the half tomatoes, right? So now from our question now, we have calculated the half weight of the tomatoes. The weight of the half tomatoes is actually 65. So we're going to divide this selling price by 65. So we're going to say selling price per kg is going to be selling price over weight. So what is the selling price? Our selling price is 33,800 divided by our weight. The weight of the half is what? 65. So let's divide this. So we're going to say this divided by 65 is actually 520 naira per kg. So we're going to have 520 naira per kg. So this is the amount per kg, the price of the half tomatoes, the price of the half per kg. Right, so far now we've calculated the selling price per kg, right? But the question says we should calculate the new selling price per kg. The new selling price per kg. Remember that the rest of the tomatoes began to go bad. She then reduced the selling price per kg by 12%. So we have to reduce the selling price what per kg, the one we've already solved, by 12%. So now we're going to say new selling price per kg, new selling price per kg. So new selling price per kg. Remember in the question it says that the rest of the tomatoes began to go bad and she had to reduce it by 12%, right? That's 12% per kg. So now we're going to use this 12%. We're going to say reduction in selling price i- is equals to what? Is equals to 12%. And what's the meaning of 12%? 12% of this new selling price, right? So 12% of what we've calculated here, that's 520. Are we there? So in this case, we know that anything percent, it means over 100. So we're going to say 12% of this, right? So 12% of 520, which is something as 12 over 100, because anything percentage is over 100, times, which is of 520. So balance this one with 1, which will be equal to 12 times 520 times 12 is equal to 6240. 6240 over 1 times 100 is 100. So divide this by 100. over 100 is 62.4. So this is it, 62.4 naira, right? So now we've gotten the amount in reduction of the selling price by 12%. So the question says, what is the new selling price package? Of course, the new selling price is actually the selling price here, right, minus the reduction in selling price by 12%. So if we subtract that, we will be able to get our new selling price. So the new selling price will be equals to the total selling price here. We've gotten the new selling price, which is 520, minus this selling price, new selling price per kg, which will be 62.4. So if we subtract it, we say 520 minus 62.4 is equal to 457.6. That's 0.660 kobo. So that's the new selling price per kg. Okay, so let's see the next question. All right, question B. The B part says that we should find the percentage profit of the entire sales if she threw away 5 kg of bad tomatoes. So now, how are we going to go about this? Now, we know that this is the B part. You know that 5 kg is what is bad, right? Is bad, is thrown away. So if 5 kg is thrown away, how many kg will be left? Of course, we know that the total weight of the tomatoes was what? Was 65 kg. So we're going to simply say, now the leftover or the remaining is equal to 65 minus 5 kg. So it's going to give us 60 kg, right? So if she threw away 5 kg, that means we'll subtract that 5 kg from the total weight, which is 65 kg. Then of the half, right? Of the half. So now the selling price of the entire 60 kg will be what? So therefore the selling price of the entire 60 kg is actually going to be the 60 kg times the selling price, the new selling price per kg, which is this, multiply 4, 457.60, right? So if you multiply that, what are you going to have? Times 60 is equal to 27,456 naira. So we're going to have 56 naira. So we've gotten the selling price of the entire 60 kg, right? So now the next thing is the entire selling price, because the question said the entire selling price. So the entire selling price is going to be what? We're going to say, remember the price for the half tomatoes we've calculated, which is this, right? That's what we're going to use, because this is the selling price of the half tomatoes without selling price per kg. Just the half tomatoes is 33,800, right? So we are looking for the entire selling price. So we're going to add that one, okay, plus the selling price of the entire 60 kg. So we're going to say it's equal to the entire selling price is going to be, remember, is what is 33,800 plus this, right? So let's add it and see. Plus, we have the answer is going to be 61256. So it's goes to 61256. So Now, this is the entire selling price. But the question says we should find the percentage, right? The percentage profit. We should find the percentage profit of the entire selling price. So we know that the percentage profit is equals to what? Is equals to the selling price minus the cost price over cost price times 100 over 1. So this one is going to be, what is our selling price? Our selling price, of course, this is it. The entire selling price is this, right? So we're going to have minus, what is our cost price? The entire cost price we saw in the question, it was 52,000. Is it? So minus 52,000 over our cost price, which is 52,000 times 100. So let's subtract it. 61256 minus 52,000 is equals to 9,256. It's 9256 over 52,000 times 100 over 1. This will be 9,256 times 100, because all the numerators is going to be 925600 divided by 52,000. These two zeros cancel these two zeros, and I'm left with 9256 over 520. So let's divide this. 9256 divided by 520 is equal to 17.8%. 17.8%. So this is the percentage. So this is the percentage profit of the entire sales if she throws 5 kg away. So there's the answer. Let's go to the next question. Alright, question 11a. The question says the third and the sixth term of a geometric progression GP are 1 over 4 and 1 over 32 respectively. Find the first and the common ratio and find the seventh term. So we are aware that basically the n term of a GP is usually given as Tn is equals to a r to the power of n minus 1, where a is known as the first term, then r is known as the common ratio, and the n is the n term. That's the number of terms, right? So from this question now, the information given was that the third term, that's the Tn, right? That's the n. So when n now is equals to 3, the third term and the sixth term, so and when n is equal to 6, right? So the third term and the sixth term of a geometric progression are 1 over 4. So when n is equals to 3, the geometric progression is 1 over 4 because it's talking about respectively here. So the geometric progression, the GP is equals to 1 over 4. And the sixth term of the geometric progression is 1 over 32. So when n is equals to 6, the GP is 1 over 32. Right? So respectively, find the first term and the common ratio. So we have to find a, this one, the first term, and the common ratio r. So now the way we are going to go about this is using this formula that we have here. So now we know that this Tn, the n here represent the n term, right? So for the n equals to 3, we're going to say T3 is equals to AR raised by, what is our n? Our n in this case is 3, right? So 3 minus 1. And we say that is equal to what? The GP is equal to 1 over 4. So we equate this to equals to 1 over 4, right? Then when n is 6, now we say that the T6 is equals to AR raised by 6 in this case because our n is 6 now, minus 1. now is equals to 1 over 32. So equals to 1 over 32, right? So this will be our equation 1 and this will be our equation 2. Okay, so what's the next thing to do? The next thing to do is to find the common ratio. And how can we find the common ratio? Finding the common ratio is very easy. It's just simply by carrying the second term, this one here, the sixth term, divided by the third term, right? So if we follow that, simplifying this is going to be AR raised power. So 3 minus 1 is going to give us 2. So we raised power 2 is equals to 1 over 4. Then for T6 now is going to be AR raised power 6 minus 1 is 5, right? So we're going to have 5 equals to 1 over 32. So the next thing is to find our common ratio. How can we find our common ratio? It's very simple. Just by simply carrying the second term here, which is this, the sixth term, divide by the third term. That's the simplest thing to do. Just carry the entire equation and divide the sixth term by the third term. So how are we going to do that? Of course, we are going to say the T6 divided by T3, right? Which will be, what is our T6? Our T6 is this, right? So we're going to say AR to the power of 5 over, that's this one, right? Divided by this. So it's going to be AR to the power of 2 is equals to the T6, which is this one, right? It's going to be at the top. So it's simply, the best way of doing this is simply as saying 1 over 32 divided by 1 over 4. So that means instead of writing 1 over 32 divided by 1 over 4, it makes it somehow bulky. It's better to make it like this so that it will look organized, right? So in this case now, we have this. What I'm going to do, we are fully aware that this A can cancel this A. Then 2 of this will cancel 2 out of this. You'll be left with 3, right? Be left with 3 of this. So in this case now, we're going to have remain R raised power 3 here because the other one's divided. So we'll have R to the power of 3 is equals to, remember that we still have this. So the best thing to do is to take reciprocal. You know, if you take reciprocal, this division will turn to multiplication and this one will turn upside down, right? So we're going to have equals to 1 over 32 times what? Turn it upside down, 4 over 1. Can you see? So now 4 here is 1. 4 into 32. 4 into 32 is 8, right? So now we have R cube is equals to 1 over 8. Are we there? So now in this case, we know that in order for us to get R, we're looking for R, not R cube. What are we going to do? We're going to take the cube root of both sides. Usually, whenever you have an alphabet and you want to, that is having a cube and you want to get that alphabet, the best thing to do is to take the cube root of both sides. So if you take the cube root of both sides, we say take of both sides. So if you take cube root of both sides, it will automatically remove that cube. So if you take cube root, this is cube root, this is cube root equals to, you know, it's both sides, right? What is the cube root of R cube? This cube will cancel this cube. Are we there? So what is the cube root of 1? What are you going to multiply by 1? You know, if you take the cube root, this one will be left with R, right? Equals to, the cube root of 1 is 1 because what are we going to multiply 3 times to give us 1 is 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So we have 1 over, what is that number that if you multiply it 3 times you're going to get 8? Of course, it's 2. Can you see? So that's 2 times 2 times 2 is going to give us 8. So our R is 1 over 2. So now we have gotten our common ratio. But the first question said we should find the first term and the common ratio, right? So we've gotten our common ratio. The next thing is to find our first term. So how are we going to find our first term? So we can literally find the first term using what we already have, right? So we can use either equation 1 or equation 2 with the use of this R that we've gotten, right? So now check the equation. Which one is more simpler? Is it the equation 1 or the equation 2 that is much more simpler. Of course, equation 1 is much more simpler, so we're going to use equation 1. So it's going to be, you know that T3 is equals to a r raised power 3 minus 1 is equals to 1 over 4, right? But we've gotten our r in this case. So this one is going to be a, and what is our r? Our r is 1 over 2, right? So say times 1 over 2. Remember that it's having this power of 3 minus 1. We say 3 minus 1 is equals to 1 over 4, right? So now in this case, this one is going to be a times, is going to be a times into 1 over 2 to the power of 3 minus 1 is 2, is equals to 1 over 4, right? So now this one is going to be a times into, next thing we're going to multiply the numbers by the square, because this square is for both of them, both for the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to say 1 times 1, because 1 square is 1 times 1, which is 1 over 2 times 2 is 4, because 2 square is 2 times 2 is equals to 1 over 4. So now the next thing is multiply this one, balance one. So the next thing is a times 1 is a, so we have a over 1 times 4 is 4, is equals to 1 over 4. These are 1 over 4, right? So the next thing is to cross multiply. If you cross multiply, we're going to have a times 4, right? Which is 4a is equals to 4 times 1 is 4, right? So what I'm going to do next? So the next thing to do is to find our a. How? By dividing both sides by the coefficient of a, right? By dividing both sides by the coefficient of a, which is 4. So divide both sides by 4. If you divide both sides by 4, 4 here is 1. It's going to give us a is equals to 4. 4 here is 1, 1. So it's going to be 1. So the a is what? 1. That means our first term is actually 1, right? So we are done with the first question. Remember, the first question says we should find the first term and the common ratio, in which we've done that. So the next thing is to solve the second part of the question. The second part of the question says find the seventh term. For the first seventh term, for the seventh term. So for the seventh term now, we know that Tn is equal to a r to the power of n minus 1. So in this case, our n is equals to 7. So T7 is equals to a r raised power 7 minus 1, right? But remember that we've already solved for our first term and our common ratio, right? We found out that our common ratio is what? And our first term is 1. That's our a. So now we're going to say that our first term is 1, right? And our r is 1 over 2. So this one is going to be 1 times 1 over 2, because this is r, right? And the r is 1 over 2 to the power of 7 minus 1 is 6, right? This is equals to 1 times 1 over 2 is same times 1 over 2. So we have 1 over 2 to the power of 6, right? So now, what is the meaning of this? This is same thing as saying 1 times 1 times 1 up to 6, right? Which will give us 1. 1 over. This is 2 to the power of 6. That's the same thing as saying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2, 8, times 2, 16, times 2, 32, times 2, 64. So 2 raised power 6 is 64. So this is our seventh term, and that's all for this question. So the first thing to do is to find the common ratio by dividing the second time by the first time, right, given in the question. By that time we'll be able to find our common ratio, then use that with the equation to get our first term, and finally solve any question that you'll be given. All right, question 11b. The question says, given that 2 and minus 3 are the root of the equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, find the values of a, b, and c. Of course, you know that this is quadratic equation, because quadratic equation is always in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So that is always the form of quadratic equation. Is that not? So how we're going to do? Of course, the root of the equation has been given. That means our x now has been given as 2, or x is equals to minus 3. So what I'm going to do? Of course, the best thing to do is take these 2 to the other side and take this 3 to the other side, right? So if you do that, you find that this positive 2 will become negative 2 once it crosses. So it's going to be x minus 2, or if this one crosses, it's going to be positive 2, right? Positive 3, right? So it's going to be, or x plus 3. So in this case now, put them in bracket and multiply by the two roots, because they are actually root. If you multiply them, you will get back the equation. So open two bracket, we have x minus 2 and we have x plus 3. So we're going to open this bracket by multiplying this by this and multiplying by this. Then multiply this 2 by this and by this. And see, so if we follow that, we're going to say x times x is going to be x squared. So we have x squared. Then we have x times 3 is going to be 3x. So plus 3x. Then minus 2 times s is minus 2x. Have minus 2x. Then minus 2 times plus 3 is minus 6, because negative times positive is negative, right? So we're going to say minus 6. Is that not? So collect like terms. Of course, these are like terms. We're going to have, we have plus 3 minus 2x plus 3x minus 2x is of course going to be x. So we're going to have x squared plus x minus 6. X squared plus x minus 6 is equals to 0. This is the equation of this root. That means if you will solve this either using factorization method, completing the square, graphical method, formula method, you're going to get back these what roots. Is that not? So that's the question. Very easy. So let's move to the next question. Question 12a. The question says, given that sine y is equal to 8 over 17, find the value of tan y over 1 plus 2 tan y. So how are we going to go about this? Of course, from the question we are given that sine y is equal to 8 over 17, right? And we have to find tan y over 1 plus 2 tan y. So this is very easy using our trigonometric ratio. So of course you know that it's possible using the cheat of SOHCAHTOA. This SOHCAHTOA means that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Write it in short. Then we have cosine, that's cos, is equal to adjacent all over hypotenuse. And lastly, we have tan is equal to opposite over adjacent. So from this trigonometric ratio, it's very possible for us to detect this 8 over 17 given to us. 8 over 17 given to us is sine y. So that means this is it, right? And this is a clear indication to tell you that since it is sine y, this 8 represent the opposite side, and 17 here represent the hypotenuse, right? So in this case, we're going to draw a right angle triangle, because this deals with right angle triangle, right? So let's try draw it and see. Of course, we're going to have something like this. So having something like this, we already know that the longest side is the hypotenuse, and this is our opposite. This will be the adjacent, right? This is a hypotenuse. Then we always have a right angle here. So now, as we've said that sine y, right? Sine y is same thing as this, where this opposite is for 8, right? And this 17 is hypotenuse. So we're going to put them here. So sine is equal to opposite, which is 8. So our opposite is 8. Then over hypotenuse, which is 17. So our hypotenuse is 17. So remember that the question says find cos, find tan y, and tan y is from here is opposite over adjacent. So that means there's a need for us to find our adjacent. So in order for us to find the adjacent, we have to use the Pythagoras rule, right? The Pythagoras rule, of course, says that the square of the hypotenuse square is equals to the square of the opposite. So put the opposite square plus the square of the adjacent. So we have the adjacent square. So in this case now, what is our hypotenuse? Our hypotenuse is 17. So it's going to be 17 square is equal to our opposite square, which is our 8, right? So we have 8 square plus adjacent square, which is our adjacent we don't know. So we're going to write adjacent square. So of course we are going to collect like terms. This one will move to this place where follow number is. So we're going to have 17 square minus 8 square. Of course, we know that whenever a positive number crosses an equality sign, is going to change to negative. That's why this 8 square is changed to negative. It's equal to our adjacent square. So what is 17 square? So 17 square is equal to 289. 289 minus 8 square is equal to 64, right? 64 is equal to our adjacent square. So 289 minus 64 is equal to 225. So we're going to have 225 is equal to our adjacent square. So remember that we're looking for adjacent, not adjacent square. So we're going to take the square root of both sides to remove the square. So if you take the square root of both sides, you know that this square will cancel this square root, right? So what's the square root of 225? So the square root of 225 is 15. So we're going to have 15 is equal to our adjacent. So our adjacent is equal to 15, right? So with this one now, we can now find our tan. So our tan y now will be equals to opposite over adjacent, right? So what is our opposite? Our opposite is 8, right? So we're going to have 8 over our adjacent now is 15. 15, right? So it's now time for us to solve the question, because the question says we should find tan y over 1 plus 2 tan y, right? So tan y all over 1 plus 2 tan y. So what is tan y? Our tan y is 8 over 15. So we're going to say 8 over 15 over 1 plus 2 into, what is our tan y? Our tan y is same thing as 8 over 15. 8 over 15, right? So this will be equals to 8 over 15. Same thing as saying 8 over 15 divided by this line here is same thing as 1 plus multiply this 8 by 2. 2 by 8 is going to be 16. So we're going to have 16 over 1 times 15 is 15. Can you see? So the next thing is we're going to take the LCM of the right hand side. So balance this one with 1 and take the LCM. The LCM is going to be 15, right? So 15 divided by 1 is 15. 15 times 1 is 15, right? So we're going to have 15 here, plus 15 divided by 15 is 1, and 1 times 16 is 16, right? So now in this case, remember we still have our 8 over 15. So in this case, it's going to be 8 over 15 divided by 15 plus 16 is 31, right? So we're going to have 31 over our 15. So what we're going to do, we're going to take reciprocal. When you have two fractions dividing by each other, you take the reciprocal, and whenever you take the reciprocal, the division will change to multiplication, and the numerator of the second part of the fraction will turn to the denominator. That means you're going to turn it upside down, right? So we're going to have 8 over 15 times, now this will turn upside down, will be 15 over 31. Okay, so 15 will cancel 15, you'll be left with, so we're left with 8 over 31, right? So what can go? Nothing can go, so the answer is 8 over 31. So that is the value of tan y over 1 plus 2 tan y, 8 over 31. 8 over 31. All right. Question 12b says that an amount of 300,000 was shared among Otobo, Ada, and Adiola. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. Otobo received 60,000 naira. Ada received 5 over 12 of the remainder, while the rest went to Adiola. In what ratio was the money shared? So, from the question now, we are aware that the total amount is 300,000, right? So we say total amount 300,000. Okay, so and it was shared among Otebo, Ada, and Adiola. So we have Otobo, Ada, and Adiola, right? So now from the question, it says that Otobo received 60,000 naira. So we're going to say Otobo is equal to how much? 60,000 naira. Is that not? And the question says that Ada received 5 over 12 of the remainder. Is that not? So what are we going to do? We have to find the remainder first. Because if we find the remainder, we'll be able to now get 5 over 12 of that remainder. And that is Ada's share. So in order to do that, we know that Ada is 5 over 12 of remainder. Remainder, right? And the rest is for Adiola. So we have Adiola is equal to the rest. So now the first thing to do is for us to get the remainder, right? Because we want to get Ada's share. So if we'll be able to get Ada's share, we remove it, then the rest will be that of Adiola. So let's get the remainder. So we say remainder is equals to what? Is equals to the total amount minus or subtract that of what? That of Otobo, because Otobo is 60,000 naira. So by the time we subtract Otobo's share, we're going to get the remainder. So remember Otobo, we'll say Otobo. So now what is the total amount? The total amount is 300,000, right? So we have minus Otobo's share, which is 60,000. So let's use the calculator to subtract 300,000 minus 60,000. So the remainder is actually 240,000. So we're going to have 240,000 naira. So this is the remainder, right? So remember that this is not Ada's share. This is our remainder, not Ada's share. Remember that Ada received 5/12 of the remainder. So we're going to say Ada's share. So remember we said that Ada received what? 5/12 of the remainder. And what is the remainder? The remainder is actually 240,000, right? So we're going to say, and remember that of in mathematics means multiplication. So we're going to say 5/12 times 240,000 over 1. So now 12 into 12 is 1, and 240,000 divided by 12. So let's use a calculator. It's actually 20,000. So 12 here is 20,000. That's not the end. Why? Because we have 5 times 20,000, right? Which is equals to 5 times 20,000. So Ada's share now will be what? 20,000 times 5 times 5 is 100,000. So Ada's share is actually 100,000 naira. 1,000 naira. This is Ada's share. Now the last person's share we have to calculate is Adiola's share. And remember that Adiola received the rest, right? So that means if you carry the total amount, subtract Ada's share and subtract Otobo's share, we're going to get Adiola's share because she actually received the rest. So we're going to say Adiola's share. We're going to say, so now in order to get Adiola's share, as we said, we're going to subtract Otobo's share and Ada's share from the total amount, and that will give us the rest, which is Adiola's share. So now we're going to say the total amount. We're going to say total minus Otobo minus Ada. So what's the total? The total is 300,000, right? So we have 300,000. And what is Otobo's share? Otobo's share, remember we said it was 60,000. So minus 60,000, then minus Ada's share, which is what we've calculated to be 100,000 naira. So minus 100,000. So this one is going to be, so let's use our calculator. 300 minus 60 minus 100. 300,000 minus 60,000 minus 100,000 is actually 140,000. So Adiola actually received 140,000 naira. So 140,000 naira. So that's Adiola's share. But remember, the question says that we should show the ratio. In what ratio was the money shared? So how are we going to do about this? This is actually very simple. So in order to get the ratio, remember they were arranged as Otobo to ratio Ada to ratio Adiola. So what is Otobo's share? Otobo's share was what? 60,000 naira. So we're going to say 60,000. What was Ada's share? Ada's share was 100,000 naira. So we said 100,000 to ratio what it was Adiola's share, and Adiola's share was 140,000 naira. So 60,000 to ratio 100,000 to ratio 140,000. If you add all these amount, you're going to get the total of 300,000. Whenever you do that and you sum these amounts and it's not up to the total amount, you should know that you are wrong. So now what I'm going to do, we're going to reduce this number to the simplest term. Okay, so what can go? Of course, we know that these 4 zeros can go. So cancel the 4 zeros out. We have 4 here and 4 zeros here and also 4 zeros here. And if you cancel these 4 zeros, you'll be left with 6 here, 2 ratio 10, 2 ratio 14. You can still cancel it out because 2 can go here 3 times and 2 can go here 5 times and 2 can go here 7 times. So we're left with 3 to ratio 5 to ratio 7. So the money was shared in the ratio of 3 to ratio 5 to ratio 7. Very simple, right? Alright, question 13. The question says, in the diagram, line RS and line RT are tangent to the circle with the center O. So, of course, we know tangent is a line that passes or touches the circumference, right? So, this is a tangent because it touches the circumference of the circle at this point, and also this is a second tangent. So, we have two tangents, right? So, in this case, now, the question says that angle TUS is 68 degrees. This is TUS is what? 68 degrees. Is that not? So angle SRT is X degrees. Angle SRT is actually this. Remember that whenever you have the lettered angle at the center, it's trying to tell you that the angle is always on the at the position of the letter at the center, right? So it's trying to tell you that like this one here, the angle is actually U, and this SRT, the angle is on R. So now, so using that, and angle UTO is equal to Y. Find X. Find the value of X. Our problem is to find the value of X. Of course, we're going to use the cyclic theorem. So the first thing to do is to look at this. Can you see this? This is 68 and this is the center. So remember the cyclic theorem that says that the angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So that means the angle here is times 2 the any angle that is subtends on the circumference. So if we already have this as 68, that means it is very easy for us to get the angle at the center. That's angle O. How? By the time we multiply 68 by 2, we get O, because the angle here is twice the angle here. So now the first thing to do is to say angle TOS, that's this angle, right? Is angle TOS is equals to 68 times 2. And always write the reason of every step, because that is actually what is needed. So what's the reason? We said angle at the center. Angle, this is a short form of angle. Angle at the center is twice angle at the circumference. So that's the reason. So therefore, angle TOS is equal to 68 times 2 is actually 136. 136 degrees. So that means this O here is 136 degrees. Remember that we're looking for this X. So now another thing we should note here is that this one here are tangents, right? These are tangents. And there's a law that says that tangents are always perpendicular to the radius of any cycle. And since this is the center, that means the line from here to here is actually a what? A radius. These are radius. And remember that radius is a line from the center to any point of the circumference, right? So now, since we have radius here, a radius here is going to be perpendicular, and when we say something is perpendicular, it's going to be 90 degrees. So, and this one too is a radius, and there is a tangent here, perpendicular, and it will be perpendicular. So when we say something is perpendicular, we say it makes 90 degrees. So that means there's a 90 degrees here, and there is also 90 degrees here. Can you see? So if this place is 90 degrees and this one too is 90 degrees, so we have to write it down, right? We're going to say angle OTR and OSR is equal to what? Is equal to 90 degrees. Why? Tangent perpendicular to radius. So which is what? Which is 90 degrees, right? So that is one of the things we should know. So we have 90 degrees here. So since we've gotten 90 degrees now, it is very, very easy for us to get this x, because why? This is actually a quadrilateral. Can you see? 1, 2, 3, 4. This is actually a quadrilateral, and sum of angle in a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. So now, in order for us to get that, we're going to set our x now plus this x plus 90 here, then plus this 136, that's the other angle, plus this other 90 is equals to what? 360 degrees. And what is the reason? Remember, we said every step you do, we must write the reason. The reason here is sum of angles in a quadrilateral is what? Is 360 degrees. So that is the theory, right? So now with this one now, we are going to be able we'll be able to get our x, right? So it's going to be 90 plus 136 plus 90. So let's add them and see. X plus 136 plus 90 is equal to 316. So we have 316 is equal to 360. Collect the items. You know that this 316 will move to this side, right? And it will turn to minus because it crosses the equal sign. So we're going to have x is equal to 360 minus 316 degrees. So if you subtract this, 360 minus 316 degrees is going to be 44 degrees. So therefore x is equal to 44 degrees. So that's the answer. That's our x, right? So this y, don't worry about this y because we're not asked to find it. Are we there? So just to confuse you, that is our x. So remember, always write every step with a reason. That is the reason for this topic. All right, the last question for the year. The question 13b says, two tanks A and B are filled to capacity with diesel. Tank A holds 600 liters of diesel, more than tank B. If 100 liters of diesel was pumped out of each tank, tank A would then contain 3 times as much diesel as tank B. Find the capacity of each tank. This is actually simple to some extent. Remember, we said that tank A, tank A is actually what, 600 liters, right? More than tank B. More than B. Is that not? Then 100 liters was taken out of each of the tank. So out of each, right? So I'm trying to summarize it. So now, and after removing 100 liters from each of the tanks, tank A is 3 times then of B. So it's also 3 times B, tank B. So now, mathematically, do we know the capacity of tank B? Of course, no. Right? So the first thing we're going to say, we said let tank B, or let the capacity of tank B be X. So let's say is equals to X. Since the capacity of tank B is equals to X, so now with this, since we know that tank B is actually equals to X, right? So, and the question says that tank A is 600 times more than B. So that means if you have tank B, which is X, plus 600, you're going to get tank A. So that means tank A is now what? So it's going to be, tank A will be 600 liters plus tank B. Tank B, which is what? X. Can you see? So now, if you have, this is our tank, what? This is our tank A. Tank B is X, while tank A is 600 liters more than tank B, which is X. So in this case now, remember the question says that 100 liters of diesel was pumped out of each. So this one is same thing as saying mathematically it's going to be 600 plus X. This is tank A, and 100 liters was pumped out. It will give us 3 times, right? 3 times as much as diesel in tank B. And remember, tank B is X, and 100 was also pumped out, so minus 102. So we're going to have something like this. This is the equation. Can you see? So tank A minus 100 pump out is equal to 3 times tank B. And tank B too, we are aware that 100 liters was pumped out. So in this case now, what are we going to do? So in this case, we're going to have something like this. I can rearrange this by saying, open the bracket is going to be X plus 600. That's another way of writing it. Then we have minus 100 is equals to 3 times X is 3X. Then 3 times minus 100 is minus 300. Right? So in this case now, 600 minus 100 is 500. So we have X plus 500 equals to 3X minus 300. So collect like terms. Those with X will move to one side, and those without X will move to the other side. So doing this, we're going to have this 300 will move to where this 500 is, and this X will move here. So doing this now, remember that when they crosses, equality signs will change, right? So we're going to have on this side 500 plus 300, because it's going to move to the other side, is equal to, now we have 3x, now it's going to be minus, this x will move, be minus x, right? So 500 plus 300 is 800. So we have 800 is equal to 3x minus x is 2x. So divide both side by 2. If you divide both side by 2, 2 will cancel 2. Then 2 here is 1, 2 here is 400. Are we there? So that means our x, which is tank B, is going to be equals to 400 liters. Can you see? Then how can we actually get our tank A? Remember that this is tank B because it is actually X. So how can we get our tank A? Our tank A, remember we said that it is 600 liters more than tank B. So tank A now, which is equals what? It is equals to 600 plus tank what? Plus tank B, which is X. And this X is now what? 400 liters. So we're going to say this equals to 600 plus 400 liters. This will give you, we're going to get half. So this we're going to have 600 plus 400 is going to be 1000 liters. So that's the capacity of each tank. All right. If you have been following, congratulations. We've successfully solved the 2019 Waec Mathematics essay section. So remember that learning doesn't stop here. Try to get more problems and solve them, right? At least if you can study 5 years, then you're actually prepared for your Waec. Sometimes the questions might not be exactly the same, but it will open up your mind in order to approach, to know the kind of questions you may encounter. Remember, if you want to support this channel, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.